Gosh, it feels like forever since I talked to you.
It has been, actually, forever.
Well, almost. Feels that way. I need to turn the volume up a little bit because you're quiet to me.
You're quiet to me.
Oh. I am... Okay, I did kind of change up my setup here, so my microphone's a little farther from my face than it usually is.
Uh-oh.
That could be why. Let me pull up this.
Da 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 da.
Okay. All right. So I'm in the game. What's up?
That's not possible.
Well, how do you know? How do you know I'm not in the game?
Because you don't work for EA.
Get in the game. That's because my life is EA. Okay. So, how's your Spanish going?
Is this part of the podcast?
I don't know. I'm just asking questions now. You let me know when you're ready, unless there's anything you have specifically beforehand to chat about. I'm trying to think if there's anything off record we should talk about, but I don't really have anything on my mind.
You have anything on the down low?
Not that I can think of. Other than Andrew. Other than Tim sent me your picture and it turned out to be Caleb. It's a little weird.
You sent me that too.
I mean, I can kind of see it, like a resemblance, but it didn't look like you.
It's the first thing I saw when I woke up in the morning, and I was like, "Why is this a picture of me?"
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had that thought, but it was mainly just the beard.
Just anybody with a beard. Is that
well,
Andrew?
Any Millward with a beard. Well, actually, that's not true because Tim looks nothing like you. So, well, not nothing. You can tell we're siblings, but it's not like a twin flame situation.
Well, Irvin says we have similar eyes.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's the eyes. Mainly. But yeah, there's like no mistaking that we all came from the same genes, I guess. I feel like we have the same, maybe not exactly the same, but pretty much the same skin too.
We're all one quilt.
I guess, but like mom is very olive skin, so she tans really easily. And dad is like a mix, and he can tan, but I think he's more on the pale side. But we got like, I think all three of us got the like pale.
Pink.
Yeah. Like we don't tan really. Unless we're living and breathing the sun all day, every day.
Breathing the sun. That sounds like a fucking...
That would be really...
That sounds like a really cool band.
Yeah, true.
That's another podcast. Ooh, I have stuff to talk about. All right.
Yes.
Ready to start?
I'm ready when you are. Yeah. 5,
Right.
4, 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Oh, wait, clap.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the No Kidding Podcast with Andrew Millward and Lisa Millward. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that not... Were you not on that level?
I was not. I was not up there. I was kind of like yeah, hi. Welcome.
See, I got to get you going. This little prod you at the beginning to get you running.
You know, I should have probably had some caffeine before we started this, but I did not.
Yeah, I've been abusing caffeine too much lately, so it's starting to lose its effectiveness on me.
Oh, that's the worst.
I just drink it and I feel more tired. Oh well.
Well,
my tongue is swollen.
Why?
Don't worry, I have an EpiPen nearby. It's just for like the past 24 hours. I think I ate some like really salty food, and it just kind of like got like swollen from that. Have you ever had like a
really dried out? Yeah,
that. And have you ever had like an infected like taste bud? I guess I think I have that on the side of my tongue, so that's part of it.
Okay.
So
yeah.
If I sound like I'm chewing on something,
that's really annoying when that happens. It can be painful. I have had like I don't know if I have allergies to certain things, but sometimes my tongue will get like really tingly. Like I'll feel like a tingle, and then sometimes I get this tickle on the roof of my mouth where it's like, ugh, it's like this weird, almost like somebody's in there tickling the top of my mouth. That's weird. That sounded really weird, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a I don't know what I just said.
We've talked about my long uvula on this
Oh,
podcast.
yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Your long uvula. It's true.
Yeah.
That you swallow sometimes.
Yeah, we can't really. We can't get much worse.
True. Speaking of bodily things, I think we're bad back besties these days.
Bad back besties. That's what I always say. I'm like, Lisa, she's my bad back bestie.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just been feeling my age so much. I can hear myself again. Oh no, it went away. Never mind.
You're gonna hear that. That's gonna be in the recording, and you're like, oh god.
No, I'll cut it out. It's fine. Hey, Jinx 1, 2,
this
3.
is foreshadowing.
I know.
If you audience member can hear the echoing that Lisa's talking about.
Could they? I don't know. Probably not. Who knows?
Anyway, go on.
I just have been feeling my age like the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd actually all started, I feel like last summer, 2023. The summer of 2023
was when it all started.
Well, like I'd always had problems with my back. Many years ago, I went to PT for it and like all of that. Healed it up. And then it was pretty good for several years. And if it would flare up here and there, but it would only last like a day or 2 or 3 maybe. And then it would get better. And then I'd be good for another, I don't know, like 6 months or something. But ever since summer, it's been sore pretty much. It's still sore. I don't know what's happening, but I can maybe get it to a point where I can barely feel it. It feels like considerably good. Relatively good considering what it was. But then if I do anything at all, even like riding a bike or like the simplest thing,
using your eyes.
Well, okay, maybe not. Well, maybe because like if I sit too long and look at something, I don't know. It just like flares up again, and then it's bad for weeks, and then eventually it'll get better, and then boom, it's bad again. It's like I don't know. I just feel like I can't heal it, and it's annoying. It's really annoying.
Yep.
So, and I know you feel the same because you have similar problems. So.
Yeah, I felt good for a really long time. I was like, oh man, there we go. Like we're good. I'm on the rise, like for a variety of health things that have been kind of annoying for me. And It was just like, oh, here I am. I'm all set. I'm good. And then, I don't know. I just went to pick something up off the ground and I was like, ugh! And now I'm bedridden. Well, not now. I'm a little better now.
Yeah.
But it still hurts.
Bummer. Yeah, I know.
And part of the thing, I don't know if this was like, you got to weaken a muscle to make it stronger, right? Like when you lift weights, you tear the muscle fibers and you're weak the next day. Like if somebody hands you a box, you're like, ugh, I had arm day yesterday. But then, it gets better and then you're stronger in the long run. But this came up right after I started doing yoga because for the longest time I was like, I don't know, like it just kind of hurts all the time. I think I'll just kind of do light stretches. But then I was finally like, wow, I've been feeling pretty good. I think now is the time to really like work on my flexibility. And I was full on doing yoga and stuff. But cool. I wonder if that was actually my downfall, if I weakened my back just enough.
Oh, yeah.
Before it was able to recover, I hurt it.
Yeah. There is a kind of there's a line, I guess. Yeah, if you like push too far when you're not quite ready yet. I will say that way back when I did do PT, and there's no shade on physical therapists because, they have a place and a purpose and they're good and everything.
I thought you were talking about the Silent Hill play test.
Oh, well, I know I can see the confusion, but no. Just like, people who work on you and stuff. I mean, they could be Silent Hill. I don't know. If you get the wrong one. Yeah, I think we've talked about this. It just didn't really I felt like it was getting worse, and maybe it's supposed to get worse before it gets better. I don't know, but it wasn't getting any better, and it cost me a lot of money. So I was like, I'm just going to put that on hold and try something else. So I tried chiropractic, and that didn't help at all. And it was also expensive.
I hear that's a scam.
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to say anything negative because
as a member of the medical rehabilitation community,
yeah, we're like shunning them all. I'm like, sorry guys, but you're all sham. No, that's not true. There's great ones out there.
PT is very useful, but for me it was it can get expensive. But I have a decent healthcare plan, so that was fine. But it's the time cost for me. It was like, it got up to being like 2 hours a day, and they were like, come in like 3 days a week during work. We're only open during like work hours, and so it's like, okay, so I'm just supposed to take like up to 6 hours a week off to go do PT, like
right. Yes, exactly. And for me, I'd have to drive because my PT wasn't in the same place where I worked, but it was closer to where I lived, and it was like I had to schedule it in a way where I could go either on the way to work or on the way home from work, and it just never really worked out. But our dad has bad back problems too, and it's
his fault.
Well, yeah, exactly. We got his genes. We were just talking about our genes and how, in some
they're all Warren and holy.
Yes, in some respects they're great, in other respects not so great. But he swears by like going to the chiropractor. He has one that he really likes, and it seems to help him a lot. So, props to them. But it didn't work for me, and so the only recommendation that my doctor gave me was to try yoga. And back then I was not into yoga. I was like, oh, this isn't really me. It's not my thing. But then I was thinking, well, I'll try it. It couldn't hurt. Hopefully. And I did try it.
Well, Lisa, let me tell you.
I know, right? I did try it, and I swear it fixed my back in a lot of ways. It was very beneficial. So I was like, whoa, I was hooked, because I was like, if I didn't do yoga for a week straight, my back would start hurting again. And I was like convinced that the yoga was the reason that my back was staying in good shape.
It's the only thing holding it together.
Right. I really was. And maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't. But I will say that I did have a case where I feel like I overdid it. And then I was reading something around that same time that said, like yoga could be bad for your back. And I'm thinking like, what? It's been my saving grace for my back. What are you talking about? But then as I was reading, it was saying, yeah, if you do certain positions, or you hold certain positions for too long, or you push your muscle when your body isn't primed for it. Issue. There's lots of, like any exercise, anything that you do, lifting weights, running, anything like that. If you don't prime your body beforehand, or it's not prepared for whatever you're about to throw at it, injuries can occur. So, it's like anything else, I guess. But I will say that I feel like it helped me a lot. To each their own, I guess. But you think that's what kind of screwed it up?
Yeah, and I wasn't really pushing it. I mean, I think that was a factor, not necessarily like a big reason behind it. But yeah, I think it was just one of those things, bad timing, along with, I probably like slightly weakened it, and it didn't help, it was on its way to helping, but I just decided to bend over too soon, I guess. My back was already in a very wrecked state. So, like I said, it had been feeling good, but just in general, obviously my back has all sorts of issues, mainly with limberness. like going to PT and stuff. Like they were like, really, that's as far as you can bend. That's wow. That's really something. You should probably do yoga. I went to again, like to a doctor for other issues with, like, I had a sprained ankle essentially, but I didn't like sprain it. I don't remember spraining it. It was just like after I went on some like outdoor hikes and stuff, it was like hurting a lot, and I was like, but I didn't like twist it or anything, And I went in, and he was like, oh yeah, you can feel it. It's like super tight right here. He's like, what happened is you worked out this muscle so much that it got like really tense, and you have like no flexibility, so it's just basically like twisting your ankle all the time. Like, yeah, so you're walking on it like kind of like not how you're supposed to be, so you're hurting it a little bit each time you walk. So he's like, stretch this out and you'll start to feel better, and I did. And I was like, wow, okay. It turns out being flexible and limber is kind of important. And doing stretches after exercises isn't just something somebody said to make you do funny poses. Yeah,
that's true. But on a good note, you had some major life changes this year. That's right. So,
yes.
Fill us in on all those fancy details. You went to Paris?
Oh, what now?
I heard.
Oh, yeah. Is that a life change?
It could be life changing.
I'm not moving there.
If I went to Okay, well, I'm just saying.
I mean, it could be, yeah. It was amazing. I enjoyed it so much. It was my first time like out of America. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit. Or there was a mini-sode, wasn't there?
Yeah.
There was a mini-sode about it. Yeah, so it was just like my first time really out of the country, and it was a lot of fun. It was interesting to immerse myself in another culture. I know, like, it's kind of like, you know, somebody goes to Disneyland and they're like, I went to America. I feel like I went to like a very touristy area of France, so it's kind of hard for me to say like how much of the like real culture did I absorb, because it was like, you know, just a super touristy area. But as being someone from Orlando, I like to think that we still have a culture. So even though we're like a vacation destination, so yeah, it was cool. I think it was just fun, like picking up on all the like little idiosyncrasies of like how they do certain things differently. Like I was at a restaurant. I went to a lot of restaurants and had this issue where I was there, and you know, we'd kind of be done eating, and like we'd just like be waiting for the waiter or something, and they would never come, and they would just be gone, and I'd be like, okay. And they might come by and like ask us for water or something. They're like, you want some more water, or like whatever. This happened like a few times, and like it was eventually at a kind of nicer restaurant that the waiter came over and he's like, you know, you guys are American, aren't you? And we're like, how'd you know? And he's like, yeah, here you gotta ask for the check. Like, we're never gonna bring it to you because like that's like kicking you out, and that's kind of rude in our culture. So I was like, okay, yeah. I was always like, I don't know, like, are they ever gonna bring the check or like come by and ask us if we want anything else? Like, occasionally they would just, you know, like come by and ask like quickly if we were good. But and you know, eventually I'd be like, yeah, could we get the check? But it wasn't like, you know, I don't know. It's just so natural in like in American restaurants for them to just like drop off the check once you're pretty much done. Yeah. Or they'll kind of walk by and be like, so any dessert? Okay, no. Okay, all right, I'll get the check for you guys.
I like that practice of making you feel like you're at home and you can leave when you want, but also quietly thinking, please leave.
Should I leave?
Right.
Do they want me to leave? And they're just, it's like a faux pas for them to actually say it. Yeah, definitely. But also it kind of tracks because it feels like, I don't know. It was kind of a vibe there to like eat. Like sometimes we'd sit down, we'd have dinner and stuff, but then we just kind of like, they had all these cute little like corner cafes and stuff, and like, you know, near the river and everything. And it was just like, you're there sitting, watching the Eiffel Tower be a lighthouse. And, I'm talking about like the spinning light on top. And yeah, you just kind of like get out, because it was kind of commonplace there to get coffee after your meal. So I was kind of like, okay, I guess I'll, you know, when in Rome, as they say. And so we, you know, get some, like, you know, a croissant or something and the coffee, espresso. They only had espresso there. The only time I was ever like, I kind of am done with espresso for right now. They're like, we can make you an Americano. I'm like, well, that's fitting. So yeah, like just sitting there at night drinking coffee, like at a little cafe, after dinner, and just like chilling for like a while and just kind of enjoying the ambiance. It was nice actually to be able to do that kind of thing, and it's kind of cool that that's a vibe there, and they're not like, all right, we gotta turn this table over.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it really felt rushed anywhere. So
did you do a lot of like outdoor cafes? I feel like the best would be at night, outside cafe. There's little like people walking by, drinking a coffee. Well, I don't like coffee, but you know what I mean. Like something like that.
Yeah. That's definitely like a big time vibe there. And that's part of why, I mean, like, I don't know how much of like the real culture I absorbed, because I wonder if they're like just leaning into it. Cause you know, like every place I went, they had like a croque monsieur and stuff. And I was kind of like, this is like, and croissants and, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, this is like kind of like almost stereotypical French food. And I don't know if French people actually like their stereotypical food, or because it's like, you know, we have burgers everywhere, so I don't know, like that's a stereotypical American thing, and we do like to actually have that as an option on a lot of our menus, so I don't know. So yeah, I don't know how much of it was leaning into the tourism aspect of it, or if it was just, that's just the way it is, but Yeah, I mean, we went to more like we sought out some like more unique places to eat and stuff. I ate at the most delicious 1-star restaurant.
1 star.
It was yeah, well, it was one Michelin star. It was the first time eating eating at a Michelin star restaurant for me. So, but I figured Paris would be the place to do it. You know, they're the food people. So
yeah,
yeah, it was a amazing experience. I get it. Like, it's a lot of money, but I get it. It's a whole event, and there was so many things that I tried and had there that were like amazing in ways that I'm a foodie. Like, I've eaten a lot of different stuff, and they have like a lot of options, you know, around Orlando. Orlando's not like a food deprived place, but there was like several times during that one meal that I was like, I've never eaten anything like this.
Wow,
like, this is a very different thing. Like, this one is actually kind of a meme that people like talk about. It's like the quintessential like overpriced Michelin kind of food that they do, but it was actually amazing. It was fascinating. They one of the side dishes is actually to my wife Lervin's main entree, where like on the side it was foam. It was just like a little, it was like somebody like put some soap suds on the side of your on the side of her plate, and it was like, it's the essence of bread. We're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what?
And then we like took a little like spoonful, like these little teeny fancy spoonful of this foam, and it is legit. Like, I took a bite of this like air, and I was like, I'm eating a slice of bread. This is wild.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
it tastes exactly like bread. Yeah, it tastes like I had a mouthful of bread. And I was just like, what is happening? It even was like a little bit toasty and stuff. I was like, what?
Is that just like a quirky thing they did, or is that something?
It's all quirk.
Oh.
It's like it's like everything they serve you is like it's I mean, the waiter was amazing. Like, he comes in and he like broke it. This is another thing. Everybody there spoke English, which was very convenient for me.
Yes.
Because like my wife knows a bit of French. She's, you know, she can definitely, she's not like fish out of water.
Was she disappointed because she's like,
yeah,
I learned how to speak French and now everybody's speaking English?
Yeah, like I think mainly like occasionally they would greet each other and stuff. Like, I would see French people like greet each other in English and just carry conversations English. So like, they both seemed French to me. So I was like, okay, this is interesting that they just default to English a lot of the times. But yeah, a few times, just kind of rarely, we'd walk into a place and they would actually like ask us in French, like, oh, do you want a table or something? And then, you know, Lervin would answer, and they would start to go for a while, and they would go back and forth. And then, like, I don't know if it was because I was there or if they just kind of like heard her accent or something, and they would just like slowly transition into English. And she was like, is my French bad or something? Like, what's going on right now? She's like, we were having such a nice conversation. I was like, oh.
They probably thought, you know, like, oh, she's probably more comfortable speaking English. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. They're like, oh, okay, well, I assume they do it for like all the tourists that are there all the time. So they're just like, let's go ahead and speak English.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, the waiter there, he was super nice. He was the coolest guy, and he like walked us through. That's part of the experience. But he like comes over, and he like, each time he brings a dish, he like sets it down, because there was many courses in the meal, so they bring out like all kinds of like aperitifs and all sorts of you know, there's wine pairings for each course, and like just a bunch of like little appetizers and desserts and like everything surrounding the main entree. But every time he'd bring something out, he'd explain like the inspiration behind it, like what kind of flavors we're going to experience, like kind of the like symphony, if you will, of like flavor. He's like, it's going to start off very tangy, very like, it's going to have a bit of a bite, and then it's going to taper off. And he's like, we recommend honestly starting with a bite of this and then moving to a bite of that, because it's going to really like, you're going to feel like you're going up a peak and then coming back down the valley as you eat the other side.
Wow.
And that's going to end with a bit of bitterness. So to counteract that and to complement that, where you could take a sip of wine, or like he's like, if you don't enjoy like the mixture of those two things, like you can have a slice of this bread with our like in-house made butter, and like you just like going off of like all the different like choose your own adventure pathways of like how we can eat this food and like what kind of experiences we wanted. And I was like, okay, thank you.
That's quite the full experience.
Yeah, it was like there was like a speech in between every serving that comes in, but it was fun because it's like you learn about like, you know, like the inspiration behind the food or like how it was cooked and like actually what it is, because sometimes I was like, what is this? It would just be like a paste or something, and I was like, what am I looking at right now?
Actually, yeah, that is really cool. You get to learn the thought behind the presentation of the food and why they did what they did, if you're into that kind of stuff.
And why this is like at this stage in the food journey. Well, I mean, like when you're paying that much money for like a single meal, you kind of want it to be an event, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of like
yeah,
it's like it's like the difference between getting like, you know, a massage from one of those people that like you sit in the chair and they just kind of like do the like da 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 on your back, versus like a whole thing where they like
spa
come in and like.
Yeah,
they slowly turn on the music. They slowly heat up the bed. They put the little hot towel on your neck, and they're like, "Okay, so I'm going to begin today. What problem areas?" Like, well, I'm saying like these are the kinds of things that.
Oh well, you know, it's like this massage. It's like this food. Oh my gosh.
when you're paying for something that's going to be like a elevated experience, you don't want it to be just like, yeah, here it is. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's like, it could still be like the most amazing food you've ever had. But like, if they were just kind of like, if they just kind of threw it on the table and like, there you go. They walked out. It's like, I don't know. Like, how much could I even, like, I kind of want to vamp it. Like him to come up and be like, it's here. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm sure it actually helps the food taste better too, because you're actually thinking about it. You're thinking about what it's going to taste like. You're thinking about that journey. And yeah, you're processing it a little bit more than just sitting down, chatting, and like shoveling food in your mouth.
True. And like, I think you kind of take it for granted a little bit, but I think everybody kind of has this journey, whether they realize it or not, when they're eating food. They're kind of figuring out like how it tastes. Like a lot of people like when they're trying a new thing, for example, you'll see people like come in, they'll take a bite and they'll be like, oh, that's interesting. And they'll like take a couple more bites, and like, it's like they're figuring out what it actually tastes like. And you don't really think about it or like care that much when you're eating normally. Cause like if at the end of the meal you think like, oh, that was good, then, and you want to like experience it deeper, you just come back. Sure. But if it's like a Michelin star experience and you're paying like hundreds of dollars for a meal, you're like, I really want to get the most out of this meal, because I'm probably not going to come back.
I want to have an experience with every piece of food I put in my mouth. Yeah.
It's kind of like they start you off with the knowledge of like, you've already been here. Like, you know, like when you sit down at a place that you know is going to be good, and you know like your favorite dish, and you can almost taste it before it gets there. And like when they set it down, like, you know, it's going to be good, but still like when you put that first forkful in your mouth, you're like, oh yeah, there it is. That's the stuff I was looking for. It feels like they kind of create that a little bit with kind of like vamping it up for you and being like, okay, this is what's great about this dish, this is what you're gonna love. You know, if you like whatever citrus, here you go, like this is your jam.
Let me ask you this, did they make you wait a long time before you get fed
at the Michelin place? No, not at all. Actually, we came significantly early, and hang on, my dog's going crazy. Ripley, come here.
Aww.
Come on. Stay. Good girl. So, we actually came significantly early for our reservation, and it was kind of wild. I didn't know. Like, we stopped for a second to take a picture because it was kind of like a cute little alleyway that it was down. It was like it was in apparently Nicholas Flamel's house, and it was in kind of like a hidden away, sort of like one of the oldest buildings in Paris or whatever. Like, you know, they have all this backstory and history to it. And so it was very like cozy, like tucked away kind of place. And so like the little like alleyway kind of had some atmosphere to it, and we were taking a picture there. And I don't know if maybe he saw us and was like, this is some people that are on a vacation and probably coming here to do this reservation, because like he knew nothing but my name. But like as we walked up to the door, he stepped out and was like, hi. And like the fact that like we weren't even, it didn't even really look like we were going in the door yet. Like we could have just been like walking down the street, you know? Yeah. And he was like, hi. And I was like, hi. And he was like, Andrew? And I was like, yeah.
What?
I was like, how do you know that? He was like, come on in.
You're like the only person that's ever made a reservation there. No, I'm kidding.
No, there were a lot of people there. Although there was, I feel like I don't know. Like, I don't think, because there were tiers. There was like, you can spend a lot of money there if you want to.
Right.
And I didn't go with the cheapest, but I definitely did not go anywhere near the most expensive option that they have. And so I don't know if we just lucked out because like the bottom was totally full, but there was like kind of an area up above that they took us upstairs that hadn't filled out yet. So we pretty much had like a private room to ourselves like the whole time. It was like really nice.
That sounds so nice and romantic and like the perfect Paris dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And then like they sat us down and they just immediately started bringing us stuff. So
nice. I was asking because I don't know, like as you were saying this, I just started thinking about different restaurants I've been to, and you know, I find that sometimes they make you wait a long time for food, and I'll say, oh, well, everything is made fresh to order, you know, like that it might be a wait, but it's going to taste really good, that kind of stuff. And then I started thinking like, is that a tactic? Because you know, the hungrier you are, the better the food's going to taste. So
it might come along with the vamping, right? It's like, hey, you know, like it's coming. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
Wow. So is that your best like foodie experience or what? Or did you experience anything else there that was really yummy?
I mean, there was a lot of food that we really enjoyed there. Honestly, they have a lot of Italian, and it's great.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, like, not only the pizza, but, like, they love pizza. Like, I think almost every single place, even, like, the, like, more traditional-looking French places, had, like, a pizza menu. I was like, okay, I guess they're really into pizza.
And pizza, you can't go wrong with pizza.
Yeah, and I had it was delicious, but I had probably the cheesiest pizza I've ever had.
Oh my gosh, did it tell the worst jokes?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
That was cheesy.
Okay.
Oh, it's so meta. Wow. It was basically like, it was like a cheese white sauce with a layer of, you know, standard mozzarella cheese with like dollops of goat cheese on top of it. And then like a drizzle of honey over the whole thing. And I was like,
that sounds so good.
This is like it's like barely enough bread to hold just a bucket of cheese. But it was actually really good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right.
That was very indulgent though. And then yeah, I don't know. There was a few other things. Sure. Obviously, like bakeries and stuff, they had amazing things, and just I don't know. Yeah, they had macarons. Actually, it's funny. The worst experience I had, which I feel I don't know. Did I mention the hotel? I'm not gonna call them out. But they had a really poor experience. I don't know, like what I expected from. It was sort of like a continental breakfast situation, except you had to pay for it, so it wasn't really. And it just like it was kind of like serve yourself, you know, like buffet style. But they had some like really good like when you go in there, I was like, this is amazing. Like they had pancakes and they had I think they called them pancakes, but they were really more like crepes. But they had crepes, which are also a great French thing. And then they had like croissants and waffles and like a juicer that makes your own juice and a bunch of stuff. And like I don't even know how they managed this, but like none of it was good. It was like everything was a few things I think
like mediocre.
Were like. No, some of them were pretty bad. Like they were like cold when they shouldn't be cold, and like just hard. And one of the things that this might be just a cultural ignorance thing that I didn't understand what I was getting. Like the waffle was actually really tasty, but it was hard. It was actually delicious, quite frankly. It was like almost crunchy. It was so hard and like cold and very thick, so it was a lot to bite through for crunch. And I was like, this is weird, and it's good, but like it's not the right texture or temperature for me. But then I started seeing them in like saran wrap or like in packaged, not saran wrap, but like plastic packaging in vending machines. And I'm like, is this like a Hostess cake situation? Like maybe this wasn't a real waffle. This was like this is like a thing over there, like a kind of a Hostess cake situation, like something that's kind of garbage food, but it's actually good. So, you know, people like it.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it could be like one of
those.
But
yeah, like especially if you're paying for the breakfast, you would like, it would be one thing if it was for free and you're like, okay, well.
Yeah. And then I actually, first morning, I guess, I assumed it was free because I walked in, nobody was there, and they just had a bunch of food out, and I was like, cool. So I ate it. And then they were like, they just kind of like grabbed me at one point, and they were like, oh yeah, you had breakfast this morning, right? And I was like, yeah. And okay, yeah, we'll just add that to your bill. And I was like, oh okay. And like, I guess that's how it works, because people I saw other people just walk in, sit down, eat, leave. And I guess they just kind of like kind of laissez-faire, like, oh, did you eat? All right, we'll charge you. Like, just like,
that's how weird. They get you. They're like, they present it like it's free, and they're like, oh yeah, you have.
Yeah. Oh, also the tipping culture, right? Like, I knew this already, so I kind of didn't. Well, it was weird because like I really felt like I should tip at, like, for example, the Michelin star place, because it was like such amazing service, and I was like, this is probably a situation where I would tip, but I don't even know how to tip, because like normally there's, you know, like a area on the bill where it's like, okay, what do you want to tip, and then you write what you want to tip and sign it. They don't have that, and they just kind of like give a card reader to you, and then you tap your card, and they're like, all right, see ya, and you're like, cool. And at most places, I super appreciated that. But there was a couple of times where I was like, maybe I kind of want to tip, but I don't know. Maybe that's just the American in me. Maybe that's weird.
Well, yeah, it's like becomes so like that's just what you do now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I felt bad in a couple places, but one time where I felt like this was like my fourth day in Paris, so I was like, you know, I was a veteran. I knew the ways. And so I just kind of like gave this guy a sideways look when we were right next to the Eiffel Tower, and it was like the most touristy area, and they're like, oh yeah, so sir, how much do you want to tip? And I was like, you know that I'm American. you think I don't know?
Yeah, it's so funny.
So I was like, whatever, $1. Just because I was annoyed at the audacity.
Like
they're taking me for a ride specifically.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
I bet if a French person came in there, they wouldn't ask him.
Right. Yeah. So do you remember what the name of that restaurant was that you went to? That was so good. We could like give a shout out.
Oh, the Michelin star place?
Yeah.
I assume they don't really need
they don't need a shout out.
They don't need my shout out, but it was let me just make sure I get it right before I go.
Okay. I feel like there was don't feel like, I know there was this there's a French cafe, I would say, more than a restaurant, because it was just, like, you walk in and there's tables you could sit at, but most people just get something and leave. And it's near the beach, it's like if you drive towards St. Augustine, and it's on the drive, and it's the most authentic French place I've ever been to, and it was so good. And we got like, they had lots of like baked goods, like croissants and stuff.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Oh, it was so good. And if that's how it is in France, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a bad experience there, especially like some of these places were like kind of cheap, like little tiny dinky hole in the wall. I mean, I say dinky, but I mean they weren't like dirty or anything. They were just like, you know, a small business like on the corner, and they still had like pretty quality like food and stuff. I don't think I ever really ate anywhere except the hotel that was bad. Like even when the Louvre was delicious. they had amazing food. And actually, now that we went to their like nicer restaurant at Versailles. They also had they had kind of a cafe area that was like, you know, if you're just there to visit the palace and you are hungry. And then there was like an actual like kind of nice restaurant that they have there to like, hey, you're in a palace, do you want to eat nice food? So we did opt for the nicer experience. And so that is a caveat, but it was also amazing. It was like honestly almost on par with the
Michelin star place.
The Michelin star place. Like for one, because they didn't come out with like all the different pairings and the you don't get all the courses?
Full level experience.
I forgot the word for courses. So yeah. So I mean, but this feels like it could. What I got there, which was the club sandwich, which was like, you think is very like whatever, but it was
rudimentary.
Yeah, it was like cut into a rectangular prism and then like fried on all sides. Like even the edges were fried, and then it was like it created this like crisp shell around the whole thing that like when you bit into it, it was like so soft and warm on the inside, but then it was like crunchy on the outside. It was like, whoa.
Oh, wow. That sounds good.
And then I'm like sitting there and, you know, at the palace where, you know, the royalty that was eventually beheaded was walking around, and I'm like, yes, let me have my fancy sandwiches. By the way, the Michelin star place was called Auberge Nicolas Flamel.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're ever in Paris, check it out.
If you're ever in Paris, go. Apparently they have great service.
Yeah, I feel like I talked about the food the whole time, but there was a bunch of other stuff.
No, yeah, tell me more. Tell me, like, what was your favorite thing that you did, like the place that we went? Was the Eiffel Tower all it was expected to be? Did it snow? Did your dream snow moment happen? I need to know.
It did snow in New York. By the way, I also went to New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had like a while there. You went there for like several days.
Yeah, we were there. It was equal time, really. But I was working while I was in New York, so it wasn't as fun.
Okay.
It was a week in New York, a week in Paris.
Who cares about New York? I mean, everybody goes to New York.
Yeah, I mean, New York was awesome. I always,
New York is awesome. Yeah,
I always love going there. But it did snow, and it was like the barest little sprinkling. Like there was basically just like a tiny dusting on stuff, and we didn't actually witness it fall, so we were kind of like, oh. And then it was just like little tiny patches every now and then. We'd be like, oh, look, a little thing of snow. And we'd go like stand at it. Like, look at us. We're from Florida.
From Florida, any amount of snow is magical. So
yeah, any amount of dirty sidewalk snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a nice experience. But yeah, in France, not so much. It was actually very pleasant weather the whole time. It wasn't like cold or anything. Good. Not like super cold, like just cold enough where it was like air conditioning, you know. It was like nice
where it felt nice to walk around in. Yeah, cozy.
Occasionally I had to wear like on nights I would have to wear like my down coat, but that was kind of mostly just for the rain. Occasionally it would rain and stuff, so but yeah, it was very nice. The Eiffel Tower is awesome. It is surreal standing in front of it and being like, look, just like the movies. Yeah. And it was nice because I with all these kind of things that are like big tourist attractions, I'm always kind of like, I don't know, like I hear this about like the Great Pyramids, for example. It's like it's kind of degrading when you finally do go see them and you saw all these like amazing National Geographic photographs, and then there's like a KFC next to the Great Pyramids and also some graffiti on them.
So, and like trash and stuff flying around. Like, what's that? Yeah,
so you're kind of like, I don't know, is it going to be like all it's lived up or it's hyped up for? And I've heard that there's like pickpockets and stuff around the Eiffel Tower and stuff. People were warning us like, oh yeah, careful. And that's probably true around like the big touristy season. And there was like people out there, I think, doing like scammy stuff, like playing shell games with people and trying to hawk like little plastic Eiffel Tower figurines or whatever. But it wasn't
I need to know what person in this day and age hasn't watched a movie where the shell game, where those things have been exposed. Like, how are they still lining up to do this?
Yeah, I think
how's it still a thing?
It's like one of those things where they're like, oh, it's just like, it's a fun little game. Like, it's just like $1 or whatever. And then like I guess
a carnival game.
Yeah, and then
it's like you're gonna lose your money, but it's still fun to do.
Well, apparently they do that, and they like they know how to like always make sure they lose essentially, and then like they build your confidence to the point where you bet like $50 or something, and then they take it. Yeah. And then you're like, dang it.
Okay, so but it was not that. Did you go mainly during the day, or you went? I saw that a couple of your videos, but
yeah, we did stuff all the time. And we did like a boat tour on the Seine when we were like the first night, I think, and then it went by the Eiffel Tower. It honestly goes through everything, so it has like Notre Dame is on a island, so it was kind of cool too. The tour ends with a circle around that island pretty much, so it was kind of cool to like see that from both sides from the water. RIP but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's still messed up, but it was cool because they had, I guess, just recently erected the tower on top, like the spire. They had like just recreated that piece of it, so it wasn't like fully unveiled, but you kind of see it. They're like trying to get it done before the Olympics, but like it's. Let me tell you, Lisa, it's not done. It's not going to get done. The thing is,
the Olympics. I'm surprised the Olympics are even happening.
Yeah, so I would say the views from the Eiffel Tower were like pretty great, but I think Lervin had the idea. I guess I don't know. I think she said she heard this somewhere, but it was actually like a better view from the Arc de Triomphe because like
from where?
The Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the big arch that Napoleon erected, like in the crossroads in Paris. I think what makes it so cool is that you can actually see the Eiffel Tower in your view. Like you kind of want to see it. Like it's a part of it is a quintessential piece of the Parisian like cityscape, right? Like the skyline.
Right.
So like if you're on the Eiffel Tower, you can't really see the Eiffel Tower.
That's true.
So the Arc de Triomphe is really tall as well, and you can see a lot of Paris. And this is another weird thing that I think is kind of cool, but it's like I wonder, like, how hard did France have to adhere to this? They must have a building code that's like they can't build more than 6 stories or something, because all of the buildings are exactly like pretty much exactly the same height, and it lends to the one like the couple times where you can get on something that's higher than that, like the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower. It's like you could just see the whole city. Like you can just see it in every direction. It's like, oh, okay, like here, like there it is, because it's like you're never obstructed by like, oh, I can like see up until this cluster of buildings, and then I can't see what's beyond that because somebody built a skyscraper there or whatever.
True.
It's all just like the same style of like, and actually I did a walking tour around and talking about the Notre Dame, but they also went into some of the architecture and stuff, and it was interesting to hear that like there was a couple famous architects that kind of like cemented that style of building, the like classic Parisian building that you think of if you ever think of Paris. It's like a couple stories. It's like there's like a bottom area that has like kind of a different look to it, and then there's like I don't know, 5 stories or so in the middle that are sort of linear, I would say. And then the top one has like a balcony all the way around it. It kind of like has a distinct look, and like all the buildings really like they almost look exactly the same. Like it feels like you walk down any street and like the buildings are different colors, and they might have like some different planters on them or something, but they're like all pretty much the same. It's kind of like, really? Oh, that's so weird. It's like I get turned around because I'm just like, wait, this looks like every other like street I've gone down, but like in a good way where you feel cute. Like you're in another century, or they're cute. And I think sort of like I don't know, San Francisco, I guess, like where there's some areas where it's like all those like little townhomes with a bay window, and they just have like that cohesive style. But I feel like unlike like I don't know, San Francisco probably has a lot more just like there's a bigger dash of chaos in there that kind of makes like things a little more novel. I don't know, everywhere you go. But I mean, there was still like a lot of differences in stuff going on in each street that I'm not saying that it was like, it wasn't as bad as like a Stepford House kind of neighborhood where it's just like, oh, like there's nothing unique or interesting about any of these buildings. They're just bland. Right. It wasn't like that. It was like they were cool and they had a personality to them, and they like had a very like Parisian look that felt like, oh, hey, cool, I'm in Paris. Like these are the buildings. Like this is the thing. It's also kind of similar, I guess, to put another example. It's like the French Quarter of, well, that's fitting, I guess. The French Quarter of Louisiana and stuff. Like how all those buildings have kind of like a similar style. Like you're saying, like kind of like you're in a different century or something. But yeah. And then occasionally
Parisian, you mean like Paris, like
like Paris style, Paris like. And then occasionally you'd take a turn, and then there would be like some castle or something. It felt like everything. There's so many palaces and stuff. Like the Louvre is a palace. I didn't know that. I thought it was just like, I knew that it was a structure that existed. It was like a historic structure, but and that it is now a museum. I don't know. I don't know why I thought it was like government building, but obviously I guess that that means it was a palace back in the day. But yeah, so like there are just so many palaces. There's like a lot of the current government buildings are like ones that used to be the royal government buildings. They're like, those are palaces. And then you go to like the Louvre, where apparently a lot of that was kind of like the I would say the city house of a lot of the royalty and stuff. And then you go to like Versailles, and then it's like, oh, here's the country house. Like this is the country palace of all the royalty. And then we even went to for the listener, it's been like a month since I've been back, so I'm like forgetting all the names of the places. But there was a place that was on the island with Notre Dame. I forgot the name of it, but it was basically like you go in it, and they actually had the coolest interactive experience. Like, I don't know, like I think a lot of people, when I try and go on vacations with people, I'm like, so what museums are we going to go to? And they're like, none, please. Kill me. And I'm like, no, they're fun. But I can get how like sometimes they're just kind of like, yeah, walk around and read plaques.
Yeah.
This one was really interesting and fun, though. It was like they gave everybody an iPad, basically, and it scanned like a code. So like you would walk up and there would be a little pedestal, and you would just kind of like show the camera to the pedestal. Or you show the pedestal to the camera, and it would like take a second, and then it would load like an entire AR experience for the room. So you could like, it was like a little window into like a point in time that the room had some kind of interesting history. And sometimes there was multiple pedestals in one room, so you could go through like different eras and like see like, oh yeah, during like the 1200s, this used to be like where the feudal kings or whatever would have their peasants gather for like, to celebrate the gathering of their crops or whatever.
That's so neat.
And they're like, during the 1500s, like this place was turned into one of the like most horrific prisons that was ever devised, and people were crammed shoulder to shoulder, and they would only leave enough space for one person to lay down, so everybody would have to take shifts.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was like there was all these different like interactive things you could do, and it was like you went around, and they even had like little games. And I know this is for kids, but it was like me and Lervin got so into it, you had to find all the little pieces of treasure. And so it was like while you're in the AR,
kids stuff is so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
They're like,
so you're finding like treasure.
Kid stuff equals fun.
Yeah, and plus you're learning.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, like you could because it was like an AR experience. Like it's like you were in the room, you could like look around and find like little sparkles of treasure in the corner. So like they had a little effect that they would do wherever there was like a quote unquote piece of treasure, and then you would like tap on it and it would be like, you found it, and it would like add it to your treasure chest. And at the end they like send you a certificate or something. I don't know, it's stupid, but
yeah, well, obviously the reward is always
like
stupid,
going around competing, like trying to get the find them all.
Like for adults, it's just the concept of accomplishment versus the actual reward. I know. It's like, it's usually just a sticker or something stupid. But.
Yeah. They were like, put in your email and we'll like send you your like certificate that you're a big boy and you found all the treasure. Like, yes, please.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, cool. It was fun. It's like, a lot of places have like an audio tour or something, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, I think that's cooler than having like plaques and stuff. Like there were a couple other places we went to that had audio tours. One actually that was I can't remember the name of anything. It had like the craziest collection of stained glass. It was actually very beautiful and surreal place to be. It was like basically the entire. It was huge. It was like 5 stories tall, I want to say, and like all stained glass. And you just stand in this room, and it is like 360 degrees of, well, almost 300 degrees of stained glass around you, and just, it wasn't even a particularly bright day, but we were just like showered in like this colorful light. And
yeah, I saw pictures. They looked incredible.
And everything not like anything to hold up the stained glass, like the few bits of anything that wasn't actual stained glass in that room was like gilded. It was like golden stained glass. It was wild.
It just blows my mind what they were capable of when they built this. Imagine. I mean, it probably took forever, but at the same time, I'm like, the vision and the dedication to make that come to life would have had to been insane for them to spend that much time and money and everything.
Yeah, and it's wild to think about, like, I know I'm gonna butcher this, but I think like when they were building Notre Dame, like it took like, I want to say like several hundred years. It took like a long time to actually construct it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you carry that vision on for generations?
Yeah,
you know? Like it's cool like, if one person has an idea, but
yeah, it's like
how do you convince your children to stay on board? Yeah,
there was like whole families. There was probably like, you know, hey, your grandfather worked on this cathedral, I work on this cathedral, and you're going to work on this cathedral when you grow up. And he's like, okay, Dad.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
like you're never going to see the finished project, but
yeah. Can you imagine the day they finished it, though, and everybody was out of work, and they're like, oh, what do we do?
Oh, true. So was that place called the Sainte-Chapelle?
Yeah, that was it.
The Holy Chapel.
Thanks for Googling.
Yeah, I Googled it. I was like, what's the most stained glass in Paris place or whatever?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it was the Saint Chapel. I'm like, that can't be right.
I mean, that's close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you saw so many cool things.
Yeah. Props to my wife. Amazing vacation planner.
Did she? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's also just like so much cool stuff to see, and there's, I don't know, so many little unique things. Like they had little stalls that they hang on the wall that they like flip them open. Like they're locked during the day or during the night, and then like during the certain days they'll open them up, and it's basically like it's just a little cabinet on like along the river, and they unlock them and open them up, and it's like a little vending stall where they sell books and stuff. And yeah, and like the whole like street, I guess, just kind of turns into like a little impromptu market. And you know, whenever that's not going on, they just lock the cabinet up and walk off, I guess. And I guess that's like super historical too. It's been around for like hundreds of years, and was one of the big things that led to like the French Revolution, because like people didn't really know how to read before that, and it started to kind of like proliferate the idea that like, hey, you can get books too, commoners.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it was kind of like the underground railroad for books. It was like they would basically buy like old books that rich people were getting rid of, and then like copy them and resell them to like poor people.
Did you guys buy a book?
Yeah, we should have. I think a lot of them weren't open when we were there. I think we did stop at one, and it did have something cool. I can't remember. I don't think we bought it though. So they've kind of the history is that they sell books, but they've gone on to sell all sorts of stuff.
Just like trinkets and stuff.
Yeah, they have all sorts of stuff there. But
yeah.
Yeah, they had some like, I think there was somebody with like some cool like Star Wars-esque things. Like they kind of had like a Star Wars theme, but it was like I don't know. It was just art, but it was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you like walk everywhere? Did you take public transportation? How'd you get around?
Oh yeah, public transit, man. I love cities like that are really walkable like that. It's so fun to go to just places like that just really understand the value of being able to do that. I wish that we could accomplish that in Orlando. We're just so spread out. It's like crazy.
I know, but they have the Bright Line?
Yeah, they're starting to kind of do that sort of thing.
That now.
But you know what's annoying about that? It doesn't run on the weekends, and like it goes.
Really?
Yeah, it goes like it's basically they're marketing it for like people that want to like transit for work, essentially.
For work, yeah.
Get in it, and then like, you know, oh, I'm gonna like go across town for my job.
Huh.
But there aren't like it's a very small selection of people that actually makes sense for, because you have to live pretty close to a station for that to be economically viable, and time viable, because otherwise you got to like get on a bus to take you to the train station to take you to the like place that you want to go, and it's pretty expensive, and the trains don't come like that often, so you got to like, it's a big investment. It's a big time investment and money investment. So whereas like going to any of these places, like, I mean, New York's like kind of the gold standard for America, I think. But yeah, I mean, Paris was super easy too. It's just like they had kind of an annoying app, but I think if I lived there, I would just buy like the pass, the like max pass or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of annoying to like refill with rides each day or whatever on their like little app, and then it like didn't quite work. Like it was just really annoying to like put in it. it made you put in your credit card info like every time. I don't know. There was a couple little like friction points that I was like, come on, get it together, guys. Whereas like New York is so simple. They're like, if you just use a credit card, and then like if you use that credit card enough times that it would have been like a week, like it would have been more economical to get a week pass, then we'll only charge you for the week pass.
Oh.
So you don't even have to think about it. You just tap a card and they will charge you as the least amount that they can.
Yeah.
And then I was like, thank you.
Yeah, that's so nice.
But yeah. So it's not quite that easy, but it's still very simple to just like once you kind of like learn the lines a little bit, you can just like pretty much just walk down into any subway hole and just be like, okay, take me to that line, and then that one will take me to my hotel. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, it was like I was max like one transfer away for like 90% of my trip from my hotel. So
yeah, that's the best.
Yeah,
sometimes it can get tricky if like you're trying to figure out, okay, well this line goes here and this line goes there, especially if it's in a different language, like not New York, but if you're in Paris and you're trying to take, some transit system, and you're thinking like, how many buses or do they have subways there? What do they have?
Yeah, so they have buses and subways. We took both. But mainly the subways are, I would say, the most efficient and easiest to use.
I know it's a tourist area, so they probably have both English and I don't know. Maybe they do.
Yeah. In a couple places the signs are translated, but certain things like the stops, like they don't really, like the name for subway stops is always a street, and that's always going to be in French. So it's just kind of like, it's like you can try and memorize it, but just certain things, like especially they would just have a pronunciation that like you wouldn't expect, like as an English person reading something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd read a stop name and I'd be like, okay, I'll listen for that stop name. And then just like over the intercom, they'd be like, and then I'd be like, what? And then I like look over and it's like, it was something that I would not pronounce like that at all. I would just like look out the window and I'd be like, oh, okay, so that's my stop. But that is not what I thought. That's not how I thought that was pronounced at all.
Right.
That has none of the vowels that I would
I think that would give me the most anxiety. It's just like being on a public transport and being like, I don't know where I'm going to end up. Hopefully I end up where I want to be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's not so bad because once you're in it, like, I guess it's annoying if you come out of it and then you're like, oh, where the heck am I? But as long as you're like in it, if you make like a wrong, or if you like pass your stop or something, like you can always get on it going the other way. Like transfer to something else. You might have to take a second, read a map or something. And there was an annoying thing where certain ones were like of a different class. They could essentially leave the main Paris area, and you needed technically a different type of ticket to get on those. And yeah, it was weird. It was like, I don't know. You needed like a class 2 ticket essentially, but not unless like if you were riding within Paris, it was okay. But those trains could theoretically leave Paris, and then you would need another ticket. So they have to scan your ticket on the way out for those. And there was a time when I didn't realize that I had not paid for enough of a trip, I guess. And then I was at the exit and it wouldn't let me out. And I'm like, well, okay, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't pay for the right ticket, but like, now what?
Wow.
So I guess I don't remember what I did. I think I just used, I don't know. I think I used my wife's ticket. I can't quite remember, but that wouldn't work. I don't know. I think we walked through together or something. There were people jumping stalls and stuff. It's like, most subways, people don't often always respect it. But, we saw some people get arrested for public drunkenness. That was fun.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they came in like a SWAT team, or like they did a pincer maneuver. Like they came from either side of the guys. They were like, and they were like suited, man. All the police, honestly, were pretty like gunned up. They
really?
Like, this was the Metro Police or whatever. It was like the Metro. It wasn't even the Metro Police. It was Metro Security, and they like had, I think, a gun and a taser on them, and they like came over and like asked for the guy's ID and stuff, and we're like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you like? And they were like suddenly trying to like kick their bottles under the under the chair, and they're like, well, we can tell you're drunk.
Like, it's not gonna work.
But I don't know. And yeah, it, like around, at the time there had been a protest where somebody had thrown like a can of soup at the Mona Lisa, which was entirely an act of, protest, like just to get attention for their cause, because it's behind like several layers of glass. Like it's very well protected. There was no chance that they were going to actually damage it. So, but still, it like you could tell. Well, I don't know actually. I'm saying that they were very well armed around all of the national monuments. Like they had like assault weapons and stuff everywhere. And I'm like, is this just the French police, or is this because of this like protest that's going on right now? Yeah, it was hard to say, but it was kind of wild to just like see, them like literally at one point there was like 12 of them marching in a like double file line with like assault rifles, and I'm just kind of like, is this like a militarized zone? Like what's going on right now?
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, they didn't give us any trouble. They're pretty helpful, actually. Occasionally, like they check your tickets when you come near the monuments or whatever. They're like, "Oh, so like, are you actually here to go in?" So they won't like let you pass a certain point. So like, we would come up and we'd ask them sometimes, like, "Oh, like where's the entrance or whatever," and they're all very nice. So
cool.
Yeah. What else? I don't know. It's nice.
What else was I going to ask you about? Paris. Well, I was curious to know about the flight situation. Did you have any? Because that's always drama, I feel like. There's always drama surrounding flights, and like, especially internationally, just like because there's so much extra stuff to think about.
Yeah. I mean, we did, we went through the process of getting like global entry and the TSA pre-check and stuff. So I don't know.
So did that help you on the way there or more on the way back?
On the way back, I don't think it does anything for the other country.
With TSA, I guess, on the way there.
Yeah. So you'll get through TSA pretty quick, which was a cool experience. I never done the TSA pre-check. They're just kind of like, hey, you're good. Go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, I guess. I mean, I know it's like security theater to begin with, but it's like kind of really dropping the veil, which was weird. It was weird actually because it was the same line essentially that like airline attendants were going through. Like there was a lot of like airline personnel there going in the same line as me. So I'm like, okay, so kind of the same line as like the employees. But then they had more stringent rules than me. Like they had to take off their shoes and stuff. And I was like, this is weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. Because I got TSA pre-check, like they're just like, yeah, you don't have to take off your shoes, your belt or anything. Just like, don't wear too thick of clothing, stick your bag through the scanner and then just like walk through a metal detector. And then meanwhile the flight attendants and stuff are having to like take off their shoes and like get like I think weird. They had to like take off like any multiple layers of clothing that they had, and it was just kind of like, this is weird. Like you think that somebody who worked for the airline would be less suspicious.
Yeah. But maybe who knows? Because they're going to be on the flight longer, or they're going to be like, I don't know, that is weird.
Or maybe that's like a position that would be targeted by people that would want to do harmful things to an airplane. Like maybe I don't know. So that was weird.
So no drama on the way. Did you have a straight flight, or did you have to have connecting flights?
Yeah, because we were going there and coming back to New York. So we sort of connected through New York, but we were already in New York for the going out trip. So it was very simple. And then it's just always so interesting. Like it's just fascinating to see for the first time, I guess, like going to another country as an American, and then you see all these lines and protocols and stuff that it seemed like they had to send other people from other countries through. Like they had a whole line and stuff, and we're like, oh, this is kind of a long line, and we go to stand it, and they're like, no, you're American, go through this line. And then it was like literally a guy that was just like, yep, and he stamped my passport and like let me through, and then I was like,
you got a stamp.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Because I've heard that they're starting to not do stamps anymore.
I mean, it was not like a cool stamp or anything. It was just like literally like a little like ink, like the date or whatever. But yeah.
Well, that's cool. That reminds me. Our neighbor, I probably won't include this on the thing, but it's really sweet. Like this
is the director's cut if you're listening to this.
I don't know. We'll see. But he's from China. And he's so nice. He's like the nicest neighbor. And anyway, he went to China for like 2 months, and I noticed like his house is very quiet. Like he's usually outside a lot. He's got like flowers and stuff he takes care of, and so he's out in his yard often. So, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what's going on there. Like I hope he's okay. Anyway, he shows up again, and I just happened to be outside. and he was pulling out of his driveway, and I was like, oh, hi. And I waved to his car, and then he stops and he jumps out of his car and he runs inside. He goes, oh, I have something for you. I have a gift. And I was like, a gift? And he comes back and he brought me a gift home from China. And I was like, oh, I know. It was so nice. It was like a box, and it was so beautiful. It was like this beautifully designed box that was filled with these little individually wrapped cakes. And they were like pineapple plum cakes. They were so good. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice.
That is awesome.
But I know. And anyway, so I gave Mom one because I happened to see her like right after that. And and I gave Tim and Mom one. And Mom was like, can I trust these? And I'm like, what do you mean, can you trust them? Like, what?
Like, and she's like, they have COVID?
And Tim's like, what do you mean? Do they have like tiny bots inside that you swallow them and then they're gonna track you or something? Like, what are you worried about? She's like, I don't know.
The Chinese Communist Party has tampered with these.
Right, exactly. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't trust things from other people that aren't family. And I was like, well, I think they're safe. They're individually wrapped, and it was like boxed up, and he's really nice. So so I was like, oh, it's fine.
Don't tell her about TikTok.
Right. It's owned by China, and they'll have access to everything on your phone and all this stuff.
You could always download it in like a sandbox environment, or like access it via the web. But like, I open TikToks that people send me all the time, but I just open them in a web browser. I don't like download the app and give it all that permission.
Yeah, right. And anyway, it's probably going to get bought out soon anyways. So,
well, it's getting banned in America. So.
Well, yeah, as long as I think it's going to get bought by an American company. They tried to do that like 4 years ago and it didn't work. So, but apparently it's going to happen. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, like say. You could still use it. I mean, you just VPN. And you can still,
well, true.
Yeah,
true.
But I don't know. I guess that's enough that it'll kill it for Americans, because it'll be
a little bit.
Yeah, and somebody's gonna make exactly the same app. Like well, not one person. About 4 million people are gonna make exactly the same app.
They're gonna try, yeah.
And then one of them's gonna catch on the day they switch off TikTok, because everyone's just gonna be, all right, well, let me go do this.
I know. There's always gonna be the next thing. I mean, that's what happened with Vine, right? Like Vine died, and then Vine was kind of like TikTok, like the pre-TikTok, and it completely died. And then Instagram was born, and then from Instagram came Snapchat, and then from Snapchat came TikTok. So something else will just come up, and it'll be the new thing, and everybody will forget about TikTok. I mean,
problem is we have no flow into this conversation now. So is the podcast over?
That's usually how it works with us. But okay, back to Paris. Is there anything you wanted to wrap up about your Paris trip? Because it sounds amazing. You ate delicious food, went to delicious restaurants, had the whole cozy experience of being cold in a fancy city. Oh, well, like not fancy. What's the word? Like old city.
Mm-hmm. Very old. It's like everywhere we went. I think it was like the first day we were there, just as a joke. Because I mean, half as a joke, but I was like, these buildings like are like, you throw a stone, you hit something that's older than America, the country. And we were like, happened to be like right on a corner, and I was like, see, look at that old building, like that looks like crazy. It was like a military looking complex, but it was like almost like St. Augustine, the fort in Florida, and it's like an old timey fort. And of course I look it up, it's like, oh yeah, it was first built in like the 1200s, and I'm like, okay, yeah, pretty much. Like there's nothing here that's not like older than Florida, or Florida, but older than America. Yeah. So
that's like the biggest reason why I would want to travel to see other cities like that, is for that reason, because it's almost like transporting a bit in time and experiencing a little bit of what it was like, because they maintain all that stuff. I mean, I know a lot of it's been destroyed over time and hasn't lasted, but it's incredible that there are things that have lasted.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Kind of gives it a reverence,
Yeah. So you got to see awesome architecture and experience a new culture and taste wonderful food. Was there anything else that like blew you away while you were there?
Blew me away. Yeah. I mean, it's all great. I will say that it didn't blow me away, but French people are very nice.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. I had pretty much all very nice interactions with everybody. I did feel a little sheepish when I was out by myself because I'm like, I don't have my translator with me. But everybody was so nice. Like, especially like the first day I went there to, I was trying to get, what was it? We were trying to get some cough drops because Lervin's throat was a little dry from the traveling and everything. And I was looking around and I was like, I don't even like, there's an interesting problem because you go in and you're like, all right, like if they suddenly, you think to yourself, like if I walk into Publix, our local grocery store, and they had changed every name, or like all the text to a different language, like what would I do? And it was like, I could probably still get around, right? It's like, but the thing is, like, you go there, I find something that I think it might be a grocery store. I go in and then like none of the brands are the same, or like like nothing looks like, it's not even like I can use brand recognition, or even like the layout of the store is so different than places that I've been, like what we would consider like, it was kind of like a Target. It was called a Monoprix. And it was like, I don't know, they had like a kind of a clothing like Old Navy-ish looking sort of place, and then they had a very like glowing pure white box that I would say was kind of like a Sephora. It had like a bunch of like beauty products in it, and then they had like kind of a bookshop area, like I don't know what else to call it. And then there was an upstairs, and that's where like there was traditional like grocery store aisles. And then there was like a butcher and a cheesery and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on.
One-stop shop.
And then I'm like, where do I go though? Because it's like the kind of like area that I would say looks like a place that is like a grocery store. It has like all food, and I'm like, that's not really like, is there like a pharmacy kind of area? And then like I went back into like the sort of Sephora-ish looking area. I'm like, well, this has like beauty products, which are like kind of like in the realm of what I would find in a pharmacy. And so I'm like searching around there, and I'm like so confused and stuff until I eventually just like asked somebody. I'm like, this is gonna be like, nobody's gonna speak English, because this was like my first day there. And I'm like, I'm so lost right now. And so I just like asked the stocking boy, and like somebody who I think like probably does not interact very much with customers. Like he was just there stocking the shelves. And I asked him, and in like perfect English, he's like, oh yeah, I don't know if we have exactly what you're looking for, but if we did, it would be like over in that area. And he kind of points to the the like Sephora-esque cube of light. Wow. And I was like, thank you. I was like, perfect English. And I was like, thank you, sir. And I eventually did find it kind of like using Google Translate, like the AR lens where it like automatically translates everything you're looking at.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was over there. I did have one miscommunication where it was because I was walking around so much. I had my bad back had a flare up, and I convinced myself again that I didn't need to bring a back brace because I've been feeling okay. But I was like, oh gosh, now I have this issue. So I went into a pharmacy, and I asked the guy there, and I was like, do you have a back brace? And he was like, yes, not ut. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like, ut. And I was like, huh? And he's like,
oh, he's saying hurt.
He's like, you have not heard this word, ut. And I'm like, no. And he's like, ut, not ut. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. He like grabs a pen, and he's like, ugh. And he's like so annoyed, and he like scribbles down a word, and he shows it to me, and I'm like, oh, hot. And he's like, yes, ut, not ut. And I'm like, no, it doesn't need to be hot. And then the lady he was working with looked at him, and she goes, hot.
So she helped him. She's like, no, you're saying it wrong.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
I was like,
that would be so funny to witness.
I was so embarrassed. I was like, your English is fine. And he just glares at me, and I was like, I'm sorry.
Aww.
That was the one sort of angry person that I ran into.
Yeah. In your defense, he's speaking your language, and you're like, no, that's obviously he's not saying it right, or you would understand it. But if it were the other way around, he'd be like, why aren't you understanding me?
Yeah, exactly. It would be like, come on, like I know English or whatever it would be, Spanish
French.
Or whatever.
If like you tried to say French, like hot in French.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be like, huh? What are you saying?
He'd be like, that's not how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
And then it would be like so frustrating because I'm like, I know the word, but I'm not saying it the right way.
Yeah.
And then obviously he did, like he wrote it down, and I was like, oh yes. I can kind of see where you got that from that, but no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But helpful guy. Just a little miscommunication.
He tried to be nice, but you just wouldn't let him.
Yeah, I just wouldn't let him. I was like, be mean, sir. Yeah. So, all in all, very awesome people. Had a lot of great experiences. I had French fast food, which was interesting. It was sort of like a falafel.
Okay.
Anyway, I should have got a Royale with cheese. The McDonald's looked very different. There was a McDonald's near us, and I was like, I can't eat a McDonald's meal while I'm in France.
Yes, true. I agree. But at the same time, McDonald's in other countries have different foods.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I kept seeing ads. I'm like, what is that? That's not what I've seen. I mean, it was close. Like, it wasn't... It was like if I saw McDonald's in an alternate universe. It was like, that kind of looks like a quarter pounder, but it's not. Like, I can tell it's not.
Alternate universe. Yeah. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to test it in like every country and see which one has the best one. I've heard the UK McDonald's has the best burger, but I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Very, very fun trip. Would totally be down to go to France again. I had a lot of culture and was just really great.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
It is quite a trip, but it was
a lot.
worth it.
Yeah, it's probably a lot to plan, a lot to get there, a lot to
It was relatively cheap though. It was like pretty surprisingly cheap. Like most. Like, it also probably didn't help that I had just come off of a week in New York, which is probably the most expensive place that I've spent a significant amount of time in, where it's just like, even a beer is $12. And I'm like, gosh, like,
I know.
I'm just trying to have a drink. Meanwhile, I go to France and they have beers for like $2. They're like, yeah, $2 like quote unquote foreign beers, like imports. And it'll be like a Brooklyn Lager. And I'm like, oh, hey.
Did you find the currency much different? Or did you
I just used card.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There was a 3. Yeah, and that's another thing is like I had a 3% surcharge on everything for foreign currency exchange. And it was still like so much cheaper than New York. Yeah. Paying 3% more. And it's probably because I wasn't paying 20% on top of every meal I ate. True. But then even the prices for the meals are reasonable. So it's like, dang.
Was awesome. The flight there expensive?
No, that was kind of the whole reason we went, was because we found a super cheap flight. It was like $200 round trip. So we're like, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah, because like, I mean, not to bring it back to me, but I think I told you that I was going to go to Croatia. That's the whole reason I got my global entry and everything. Yeah. Well, I had to cancel the trip. I was very sad.
What happened?
It was a very big decision, and I was really disappointed for a while, but it's okay. I'm taking it as a sign that it just wasn't meant to be. Yeah. But basically, like, the trip itself was perfect. It was perfect for me. Everything about it was perfect. The pricing was perfect. The trip was good. But then came the flights. And the flights screwed me because I could not find a flight to where I needed to go for less than like $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's more than my actual trip, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah. This is looking itself, at doubling the trip.
Yeah. And it just was not going to be feasible for me to do that.
Like as in a round trip at least?
Yeah, it was round trip.
Okay. Because then at that point it's like, well,
yeah.
I live
and
here
then
now.
Not only that, but it was like, there was no direct flights. It was like, basically I'd be transferring for 3 flights. So I'd transfer to either like New York first or somewhere up there, and then transferring to like London, and then transferring to France, and then going to Croatia. It was like a whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. And then the prices, I kept saying, okay, I'm going to wait till the prices drop, see if the prices drop. And it kept getting closer and closer. And all they were doing was going up. They were only getting more and more and more expensive. So at some point, because at a certain point, you have to like fully confirm your trip, and like everything has to be paid for and everything ahead of time. And I had to make the decision. I was like, okay, I can either wait and hope that it goes down, or I'm going to end up paying like double what I was intending on paying. So yeah. Anyway, so I ended up having to cancel it. I was so mad and disappointed and whatever, because it just felt like a calling. I was like, this is perfect for me. But anyway, I'm just going to chalk it up to another time, maybe it's just wasn't in the cards and it's meant to be. However, I did book a trip to Costa Rica because,
Ooh.
you know, I mean, it wasn't like...
Well, you have a vacation savings now.
Yeah, I had the money. And actually, like, because I booked it through, like, a travel trip website, because I had to cancel the trip, they had to charge me $100 to cancel it. Yeah. And they said that they don't refund you the money, what you've already put down.
It's like store credit.
Yeah, it's like credit. So you could place it on another trip. So I was like, okay, well...
Yeah, they're like, you're going on vacation, whether you like it or not.
Right, exactly. So I was like, well, what else is available? Because I specifically wanted to go with a certain group, like there was specific people that I wanted to go with because I at least knew at least one person in that group. So it wasn't totally on my own, you know, like without, I felt a little safer to at least know one person, you know?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I definitely want to at least go with that group. And they only had 2 other available trips at that time. And one was to Morocco and another one was to Costa Rica. And the Morocco one was booked. It was like full. So I wasn't able to do that one. So, and plus I was like, well, the prices of flight are probably still expensive. I don't know. I didn't check the prices, but I assumed.
Yeah, so what'd they do when they were presented with a $3,000 plane ticket?
I don't know. Like, I'm assuming...
planning to go together, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So, well, like, I don't know if everybody's coming from the U.S., so it's kind of like anybody can go. I know some people were from the U.S., though, so... But I do know that a lot of people commented and said, hey, do you have anything closer to the U.S.? Because travel flights, like the flights outside of the U.S., like over in Europe, are really expensive. So can you create a trip closer to home? And that's why she created the Costa Rica trip. And I was like... Okay, well, I guess I'll do that. Even though thinking Costa Rica, I mean, it's not really the vibe I was going for. I live in Florida, so tropical. I was trying to get away from tropical. I was like, I wanted to do something European, something like different with like architecture. Yeah. But I resigned myself and I was like, you know what? I know multiple people who love Costa Rica. Like, I know somebody, like our cousin who lives in Minnesota. That's her number one favorite travel destination. I know somebody who moved there. They liked it so much. They moved back already, but, you know, still, they moved there. And, like, I know other people who have said, oh, my gosh, Costa Rica was the best vacation I ever took, you know. So it can't be that bad.
I've heard that, too, yeah. Maybe it'll help you appreciate the tropical climate more.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, like, well, it really is a lot different. The culture is going to be different. It's going to have a different tropical vibe. It's going to be more rainforesty. There's sloths. I might be able to see a sloth. You never know.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I know. And really, when it comes down to it, well, first of all, the flight, guess how much the flight was?
$50.
Round trip. Well, $500, but...
Yeah, pretty much compared to the $3,000. Yeah.
I was like, okay, $500 round trip. And the cost itself of the actual, like, trip was cheaper, too. But I was charged a $100 fee, so it was kind of, like, worked out. But anyway. But at the end of the day, I was thinking, like, really the main experience that I wanted was to actually travel with a group of girls and just... do something for myself and like engage with other people that I don't know very well and like put myself in that outside of my comfort zone to try something like that. So it was more about that experience than the actual destination, although the destination was like obviously cool because, you know, it always is. That's part of the whole experience. But yeah, so anyways, I switched it. And so, but I still can use my global entry, they said, because it's obviously still international. It'll work out. It's fine. Yeah,
it'll be useful.
Yeah. So that's the plan for this year.
I think that'll be a lot of fun. I know that Caribbean it wasn't the vibe you're going for, but it was also tropical, or coastal. Well, I guess
that's true.
Would be the word.
That's true.
So yeah, I don't know. That should be fun still. What if you decide like, dang, maybe I want to move to Costa Rica once you go there?
Right? Watch me get there and be like, okay, looking at homes for sale.
This was my calling.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the end of our travel a travel episode.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a new one once you're back from Costa Rica.
That's right. That's true. You'll get to hear me ramble on about sloths and zip lines and tropical waters.
Ooh, that sounds fun, though.
Yeah, it could be. We're going on a waterfall hike. I know that. So, cool. The vibes are still vibing.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Good. All right, let's round it out. Thanks for listening.
Wrap it up.
This was probably a long one. I don't know. We'll have to see. But
I'm at an hour and 40 minutes.
What do you know? It's like, we're gone for 3 weeks, and then you get it like a 2-hour.
You get 3 episodes in one.
That's right. I hope you loved us. I hope you missed us. I hope you come back because we're going to get back into like our regular rants in the future. So, yeah.
You know how it is.
We'll get back into it. You know how it is. We're working peeps.
You know how it be. You know why you're here.
You know why you're here. You're our besties. You're our best friends. Stop saying besties. I don't know where this comes from. I've never used to say that, and now I've been saying it, and I don't know why. It's like, stop.
You're a basic girl, Lisa. Lean into it.
Basic girl.
Go get your pumpkin spice lattes and your Patagonia jacket. I guess it's North Face. And your boots with the fur. Your Uggs. What else is basic?
My boots with the fur. My cherry pants. Anyway. Wow, I don't think that's basic, but whatever. It's fine.
Your live, laugh, love farm style.
There you go.
House decor.
Yeah, I'm still evolving. I don't know what I am, but I'll get there. Anyways.
I don't think anybody's anything.
Yeah, exactly. We're always evolving.
Don't put me in a box, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let anybody put you in a box, audience.
That's right.
Goodbye.
So long, very well, pip, pip, cheerio, we'll be back soon.
We have the best ridiculous, like, non-qualified advice at the end of our episodes.
Yeah. Just rambling, ranting advice.
Just live your life. Okay, God, go. Get out of here. Live your life. Bye.
I love you. Bye-bye.